Hey everyone, and welcome to More Books with B. Sharice. I am B. Sharice Moore. Before we start, some housekeeping. Just be sure to grab your pencils, your pens, your notebooks, whatever it is you use to take notes, a phone, I don't know. All right, just grab those things so that you can take some notes because I'm going to give you some tips and some strategies a little bit later on in the broadcast. Okay. First and foremost, my name is B. Sharice Moore. I'm here to talk to you about some of my favorite books. And today's book is Kindred by Octavia Butler. However, I have chosen the graphic novel version, and this has been reimagined in graphic novel form by Jennings, who is the illustrator, and Duffie, who is responsible for reimagining the actual storyline, the plot line. Okay, so if you want to know more about them, I found John Jennings' website, like a Facebook page. So his name is John Jennings, Jennings, and Damien Duffie actually has a website, and it's damienduffie.net. All right, damienduffie.net, and I'll put that somewhere so that you guys can click on those links easier. Okay. All right, so the reason why I chose a graphic novel is because of the accessibility of graphic novels. I absolutely love the way graphic novels pull in many readers and allows them to act with the text more than they normally would with just a traditional novel. Okay, so these are great for your reluctant readers, great for even your struggling readers who may have some gaps in comprehension and just some struggles and some barriers with actually reading. So a little bit about Kindred, okay? Kindred is probably Octavia Butler's most popular and famous novel. It's the one that I see that has been improved the most, usually in high school curriculums across the country, and of course on the college level as well. So there's just something about Kindred. It's her breakout novel that people really enjoy. And it was my first introduction to Octavia Butler. Of course, not the graphic novel version because this is fairly new, but the actual novel version. Let me start by giving a brief background about Kindred, brief synopsis. I don't want to give anything away if you have not read the book because it is a gem. And I would suggest parents that you read this along with your children. I think that both of you could really get a lot out of this story. The book Kindred is about a young woman named Dana. And Dana is from the 1970s. This is basically, I guess you can't call 1970s present day per se, because it was actually more than 40 years ago. But this takes place in the 1970s, and the main character's name is Dana. And she constantly finds herself being snatched back in time. And she's snatched back to a time where slavery is still legal, all right? And she's constantly having to rescue a little boy who is white. And this little boy is always getting himself into some type of extremely dangerous situation, which could cause the end of his life. And Dana is serving in this book as his heroine, in that she's constantly snatched back without any inkling, or any warning. She's snatched back to this time period to serve as an intermediary to make sure that this young boy does not die. Okay, so that's pretty much the premise of the entire story. It is part historical fiction, and it's also part fantasy, part magical realism. And again, it's extremely engaging. I have nothing but amazing things to say about the way that both Duffie and Jennings went about reimagining this in graphic novel form. It's just a pleasure. And as someone who read the novel first, probably about 15 years ago, I would say, reading this is an entirely different experience than reading the novel. First and foremost, I would recommend this novel for ages 15 and up. Why do I say 15 and up? Because there is some nudity, okay, mixed in here. It actually kind of shocked me. I wasn't expecting to see that. But there are some nudity, some nude scenes of some slaves who are being beaten and abused and who are topless and shirtless. And so those scenes make this book something that you cannot put in your classroom library, okay? So understand this is not recommended for a classroom library. This is something that I would recommend for homeschoolers and independent schoolers, as long as you review the book yourself first, of course, which all teachers should do anyway. Definitely make sure you review the books first, all right? And I'd also recommend it to parents. Once you, of course, review the book yourself, talk with your child first before sharing this book, all right? This book is extremely raw. And I think that both Duffie and Jennings did a fantastic job of capturing the physical and psychological brutality of slavery, the system of slavery, because it was a system in the United States of America. Okay, so again, I would say ages 15 and up. And I'd also say this is not appropriate for a classroom library. However, this would be something that you would buy on your own if you're a homeschooler, and just for parents to just read with your child. Discuss this with your child. Okay, so this is Kindred, and it's, of course, by Octavia Butler, but it has been reimagined in graphic novel form by Damian Duffie and John Jennings. Okay, all right. So a strategy that you can use. I really like instructional hooks, and instructional hooks are things that you can just, use to pull in to have discussions, deeper discussions with your students, with your children about the books that we read. So one of my favorite instructional hooks is Four Corners. All right, basically, it's very easy. You are in a room, you take a room and you look at the four corners of the room, and in each corner you put a different sign. One sign will say agree, another will say strongly agree, another one will say disagree, another one will say strongly disagree, all right? Or you can do the word somewhat. So agree, somewhat agree, disagree, somewhat disagree, okay? So you will read a quote, all right? And the quote should be connected in some way with the novel that you're reading. So in this case, I've chosen the quote by Spanish philosopher George Santayana. And the quote is, "Those who do not remember the past are destined to repeat it." Okay? Those who do not remember the past are condemned to repeat it. And that's George Santayana. So what you do is present this quote, tell your child to think about what the quote might mean to them, and then ask them to go to one of the four corners. And once they go to their four corners, ask them to defend why this is their reaction to that particular quote. So this opens up so much conversation about history, about what we should know, about what children think and young people think that they should know about history, and how it connects with the present. Okay, how it connects with the present day. So, and of course, with Kindred being a historical fiction graphic novel, that quote fits right on in. All right. For your Common Core standards, you would, I wrote this down. You would look at the speaking and listening standard, and I believe it's 6.1. And standard 6.1, I will put it in the comment section. Standard 6.1 just focuses on student ability to speak and listen to one another, and to listen to you, since this is a book that I'm recommending really for parents and their children, or homeschoolers if they feel comfortable, and their children, and listen to one another. All right, so that standard just says, hey, you know what, you can speak clearly, you can express your ideas clearly, and you can listen to others and engage in a conversation that is civil and effective. So anyway, thank you so much for listening. I'm B. Sharice Moore. Again, Kindred by Octavia Butler, but reimagined in graphic novel form by Damian Duffie and John Jennings. That's damianduffie.net. And on Facebook, you can find John Jennings. All right, so hopefully you'll take a look at it and consider talking about this book and presenting it to your older students. Again, I would say ages 15 and up. And I hope this was of some use to you. Subscribe, like, and share widely. Thank you so much.